How are you? My name is Michelle Connor. I'm your VCS for Living Environment, and today we're going to be looking at building confidence in your students to form opinions. Now, sometimes there's really like three main types of students. You usually have the students who love to give their opinions, the students who are too nervous to choose the wrong opinion, and the students who feel they don't care about either side, so they don't want to choose an opinion. So we're going to be looking at ways to kind of motivate them. And the first one we're really going to look at are those students that love to give opinions. And the best way to deal with these students is to just give them all the options in a neutral fashion. So for the teacher, it's really important that you're giving the students options without making them feel that there's a right or wrong answer. Especially with some of this week's lessons, they're a little bit more debatable topics that have very clear-cut sides. So it's important that as a teacher, you do not give your kind of opinion right away. Some teachers feel that you should never give your opinion. Other teachers feel like it's good to kind of share your side as well and kind of your evidence on how you're getting there, like a think aloud. But to definitely start, I always suggest not to give your opinion and give all the options in a neutral fashion. So for this week, 419, we're looking at GMOs. There is a Kialo debate, and these are the possible theses that the students can pick from. So they have GMOs should be allowed in all circumstances. GMOs should be allowed but should be regulated. GMOs should be allowed for certain uses, and GMOs should not be allowed. So these are all really good possibilities that the students have to choose from. Again, they can form something completely different. But these are ones that we like to give them to kind of get them to start. The next technique really works for the last two types of students, the students that are afraid to make the wrong opinion and the students that think they have no opinion. So for these students, one thing I love to do is I love to show them an example or a think aloud of possibly choosing multiple answers. So what I mean by that is giving them evidence to support opposite or conflicting thesis ideas. This really gives the idea that there's no right or wrong answer because there is evidence that supports more than one thesis. I also think it's very good to reassure your students that there is no right or wrong answer. You're just picking a thesis that you are able to support with evidence. And that's really the big key, is that you're able to support it with evidence. And when we talk about opinions, just continually reassuring your students that there's no right or wrong answer to the question. It's an opinion that you have to back up with evidence. So our third type of student, I feel like I always have so many of these types of students, is the student that does not, quote unquote, care about the topic and therefore does not have an opinion, so they feel they don't have to do it. So with these students, you have some kids that just tell you that they don't have an opinion about it. And then you have some students that try and say, oh, well, I don't have an opinion, so I don't have to do this work. And for these students, you have to be open to the fact that not everybody is going to care about science as much as we care about science. And for certain students whose science is not their thing, or they really don't enjoy it, or even they do enjoy science, just maybe not particularly the topic that you're talking about, there's going to be students that don't have opinions. And that's the truth. And you have to be open to those students who don't have opinions. And for this, the trick is to be honest about it. So it's okay that you might not have a strong opinion, but we still have work to do. So let's find the easiest option that you can defend. So this works really well with, what evidence did you find so far? Let's look to see what thesis it fits under. And these options really allow the students to be understanding to the fact that they may not have a strong opinion, but there's still an expectation to complete the work and participate in the activity. So be open that not everybody's going to have an opinion, and that's okay, but working through what do we have so far and where does it fit. This is a really big idea, is to make sure you always bring everything back to evidence. So for those students who say they have an opinion, they already know what their opinion is, it's important that you remind them to back it up with evidence. For those who are uncomfortable giving an opinion, you always bring it back to, well, what evidence do you line up with or relate to the most? For those students with no opinion, bring it back to, well, what evidence did you find and where does it fit? So always bring the conversation back to the evidence piece allows the students to become more comfortable with the controversial and kind of conflicting topics. So the idea of teachers sharing their ideas is always controversial. As far as it comes with science, it's a little bit less controversial. It comes up often with politics as well. And of course, there is some political backing in some of the scientific ideas that we do talk about. I personally feel like it's totally fine to share your opinion with your students, but I like to give them the time to make their own decisions first. So personally, I feel it's good to share your opinion with your students after they have formed theirs. And what I like to do is I like to share my opinion and give evidence, but also show a different side. So I can say like, oh, for myself, I believe that, give my thesis and give my evidence, and then follow that up with, but I can also see while others think. And this gives both options, and it also models to the students that it's okay to have a difference of opinion. And I think that's really important when trying to build confidence, is to show them that it's okay in your classroom to have a difference of opinion.